Zaxby's Caribbean Jerk Chicken is just like a vacation in the tropics. Only without the sunburn. Or the dive-bombing seagulls. Or all of that pesky sand.
How'd it get in there?
Well, at least it tastes like the tropics. Enjoy our famous chicken tossed in a tropical blend of spicy habanero, fruity mango, and exotic island spices. The Caribbean Jerk boneless wings and the new filet sandwich meal. 2 more reasons you'll get a kick out of Zaxby's.
From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up!
Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by Zaxby's
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi.
and Corey Clark.
Reunited and it feels so good.
Wake up! What's up, everybody? It's Wake Up Warchant presented by Zaxby's. Indescribably good. Go get you some. It's delicious. You'll like it, I promise. We work for Warchant.com. We being myself, Aslan, and then Corey Clark, senior writer for Warchant.com. I think the promo code is Warchant30 still. Right, Corey? 30 free days. Use it, love it, learn it, live it, all that.
That sounds right. Sure, man. It's been so long. Who am I talking to?
Yeah. It's crazy. I almost didn't even know if I had to come back. I looked at my phone. I saw there was a Wake Up Warchant podcast. I'm like, what's going on? Who's this? It was Corey and Ira. And I'm like, oh, gosh. I'm being phased out.
Writing's on the wall.
Yeah,
Writing was on the wall.
but then, you started the show like a wounded gerbil with your wake up. And I'm like, okay.
What? Are you
I'll be all
crazy? That was probably the best wake up this show has ever had. It was forceful. It was direct. It had a little punch to it. I thought I got nothing but positive feedback for my wake up. I'll be honest with you.
You don't believe that. That's
Nobody said anything to me. One guy said it startled him when he heard it.
You originated the wake up, and you had that that gravelly wake up. That's like where it all came from. So it was kind of crazy to hear you not.
Oh, I remember, buddy.
Yeah,
I remember. Yeah, I was in a different role. I had to try to drive a little bit. That's not really my bag. Right. I don't feel comfortable doing that. I had to carry Ira because, you heard him. Good heavens, what is that guy all about? So yeah, it was just I didn't have the advantage that you have having such a personable co-host.
Okay.
Ira's like it's just like a stick in mud.
Oh,
so I did my best, guys. By the way. Shout out, we talked about it on the last Wake Up Warchant while you were, I assume, in Hong Kong or flying over the North Pole or whatever you're doing. His Keyshawn Helton story was, the internet loved it. Keyshawn Helton loved it, tweeted about it. It was really cool, man. Keyshawn's such a cool kid. And now he's got another story up about Helton and Jaden Lars Woodby. I believe he's written now about 11 or 12,000 words on Keyshawn Helton. Man. So he's halfway to a book. So I assume next year around Christmas time, you can, if you want to pre-order your Keyshawn Helton book. But in reality, they're both really, really good stories, and you guys need to read them. And it's one of the benefits, and I don't mind saying this. It's one of the reasons that Warchant is Warchant because of Ira. I haven't written a story like that in a long time, but when you see something like that, it's like, and we have the access that we have now. It's like, man, I'm going to do cool stuff like that too, and I'm going to write these types of stories because we have the access now to do it. And it kind of was like a little bit of fuel, a little fire. But that's why Warchant is Warchant, man. You're just not, in my opinion, which matters, more than anyone's. I just don't think you're going to get that at other sites. I don't think there's many people out there at any college football beat that could write a story like Ira just wrote about Keyshawn Helton. So go read it. And go subscribe to Warchant because it's worth your subscription.
So will they need to take an hour lunch break to enjoy their Zaxby's and the story that Ira wrote?
I'd say it's about 22 minutes, 20 to 2 to 20. That's how long it took me, about 22 to 25. I skimmed a lot of it because, again, it's Ira. No, I'm just kidding. No, it probably is a good 25 minutes. And it probably took him, I would guess, man, the way he was talking the other night, I feel like he must have worked on that thing for days. And it shows. It's a really, really good story.
Okay. I'll read it as well. I'll do it on my
you didn't read it on the plane? You had a plane. You could have read it on the flight.
I didn't have Wi-Fi. I didn't want to pay for the Wi-Fi. I don't like Cathay Pacific, the airline carrier. We'll get to that maybe at a later time. I watch movies though. I watched apparently the Oscar award-winning film Best Picture, Parasite. Did that win?
You watched that on the plane?
Yeah.
Yeah, it won.
It was good. I liked it a lot. I also watched Once Upon
really
a Time
good.
in Hollywood, like that.
What'd you think of that?
I can't believe it was I'm not a cinephile. A lot of movies, I'm not big into movie culture because I can't get into it too much. I like movies that make me laugh. I don't like these deep sort of portraits and stuff and these, allegories and these metaphorical things.
Right.
But I liked it, man. I love Brad Pitt. I got like a man crush on him. You put Brad Pitt in a movie, I'll probably tune in and watch most of it. I liked it. I mean, I actually kind of enjoyed it more thinking about it in the days after I saw it. I saw it on the way out there. I watched Parasite on the way in.
Not to give a spoiler alert, we won't talk about the ending. But did you know a lot of, we'll get to Seminoles sports in just a second. Hey, man, I haven't talked to Aslan in it feels like 6 months. It's two bros catching up. Did you know a lot about the Sharon Tate murders and Charles Manson and all that stuff?
I think I knew enough that the movie had I don't know if that was the impact it wanted, but I think it's the impact they wanted to have, and it made its impact on me.
And it's just ominous throughout.
Yes.
Because yeah. So anyway, all right, go ahead. Let's talk about FSU sports, buddy.
Okay, we'll start with basketball. Are they still ranked number 8 in the country?
They are, yep.
I can't.
They hold steady at number 10. I think it's their 6th straight week in the top 10. And
okay.
I looked it up a couple days ago. I think they have been ranked in the last 27 years. Well, really the last 40 years. I think they have been ranked in the top 10 for a total of 12 weeks.
Okay.
And now they've been ranked 6 weeks in a row.
Get some.
So that's pretty good. These are heady times for the Florida State basketball program.
Yep, 82-67 win over Pitt. I guess you could maybe say they exacted some revenge on the Panthers, who won the season opening game, which was played up there at Pitt. I was at baseball, so I'll probably, as usual, kind of lean on you for this one. But it seemed like in the post game, a lot of the questions sort of focused on, even Jeff Capel from Pitt was asked about the play of Patrick Williams. And it's something that you've been talking about for about, I don't know, a month and a half now, just about if that kid gets going, watch out, really watch out. I mean, because this team already as is, it continues to kind of build up to a nice crescendo that you feel like they'll be ready when March rolls around to make a run. But, man, with that kid, it adds a little extra pizzazz, it feels like, for lack of a better term.
I don't know if pizzazz is the term you were looking for, but sure, we'll go with that.
Punch?
That's his nickname.
A little punch, a little more punch.
Pizzazz is his nickname.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go. He's the way he's played lately, he's been the best player on the team. He's been for large stretches the best player on the floor. His jumping ability, his quick twitch athleticism is just nuts for a guy his size. There's not really a whole lot to say. The more you watch him, Jeff Capel talked about it afterwards. He's like, obviously he's going to have a chance to go to the NBA. His name is being bandied about as a prospect. And it is like he's the ESPN mock draft, and it's a mock draft, so take it with a grain of salt. But the latest one, the one that came out on Tuesday, had him at number 23 overall and had Devin Vassell at 18 overall. So you got two really, really talented guys, and Devin didn't do anything. He barely did more in the Pitt game than he did in the Syracuse game when he didn't play. But it didn't matter because Patrick Williams is just a freak. He's just a freak. He's like a taller Malik Beasley athletically and a much better defender than Malik Beasley was. Definitely not as good with the ball and attacking the basket right now because, a bigger kid. But he's just – there haven't been a lot of kids like him. He had a play in the Pitt game where he catches a pass from, I think it was Balsa, a really nice bounce pass cut into the basket. He kind of jumps up on one side of the basket and then dunks it as he goes underneath on the other side of the basket. He had a putback dunk. When you were gone, he had a dunk against Miami where he missed the shot, and before anybody else could get the rebound, he had already hit the ground and then jumped back up again to dunk it through. just a freak in a really good teammate. It would appear the guys really seem to like him. He's not selfish, even though he could be because he's an NBA prospect and a really good player. And he's just kind of embraced the culture, and the culture seems to have embraced him. And now you start projecting this year because it seems like, he might want to come back. Kids he's young. He might not want to play in the NBA right now and be around 30-year-old men. He might like the prospect of playing in the NBA or playing in college for one more year. But you start projecting for the next month, 5 weeks, however long the season lasts, he's probably going to be the key to the whole thing. He's just a guy. He's a matchup nightmare. He's just a matchup nightmare. And he's probably their most impactful defender. He can get steals. He protects the rim. They don't have a lot of that. He's one of those. He's a really good rebounder in traffic, knockdown shooter when he's open, great free throw shooter. Everything about him is, you start looking at him and Vassell and Trent Forrest, you're like, okay, well, there's going to be stretches where those three guys could perhaps be the best three players on the floor. And I think if you didn't watch the game because you're baseball, but he was really, I think he was a plus 16 in 13 minutes in the first half. Raekwon Gray did not have a really good game. So Patrick played a lot in the first half and was a plus 16. They only were up by 5 at the half. But when Patrick Williams, the 13 minutes that Patrick Williams was on the floor, they were up by 16. So my point was, in the second half, when it was 38-33, Leonard started the second half with Patrick Williams. And I think you're going to see that a lot moving forward. Not necessarily, he won't start games. Gavin Gelly never started games. It's fine. It's whatever. When it matters, Patrick Williams is going to be on the floor. And remember, they lost to Virginia, and you don't think, okay, they lost their sixth man. That's not a big deal. He didn't play. They still should have won. They win that game if Patrick Williams plays. They might win it by 8 points. They won the first Virginia because of Patrick Williams. He's just a difference maker, man, and he's found this level now where he scored 17 points against Syracuse. He scored 16 against Pitt. He scored, I think he only scored 7 or 8 against Duke. He took a lot of shots. He just missed them, but they were good shots. So, man, he's just he's already a first-round pick. And it's like he wasn't number 5 coming out of high school. The kid was like the 26th best player in the country. But of course, Leonard found him, and he's grown. He's grown into this guy where there was a scout sitting right next to me and Ira on Tuesday night, and when he made a couple of moves, the scout went right to his notebook. Yeah. So he's definitely on their list, but he is a difference maker. And if they go to the Final Four, and they have a chance, if they go to the Final Four, number 4 will have a huge, huge hand in it.
Yeah, Jeff Capel says that Florida State's a Final Four team. He thinks in his estimation was really gushing about them. Following up on Patrick Williams, though, Corey, I mean, is it the fact of him emerging? Does that just give Florida State like another option offensively, another option defensively to hamstring teams? Or like when he's playing well, like are they a different team? I mean, they got their brand of basketball. They have their identity and their culture. But, like, when he's playing well and projecting this thing forward in the way you're talking about it, is he like another reinforcement for this whole 18-strong thing? Or is this guy, can his ability be more than that? Like, will it change the way that teams are going to have to defend Florida State and the way they're going to have to attack Florida State when he's on the floor?
Yeah, I think I get what you're saying. I would call somebody like Wyatt Wilkes a guy that is the first thing that you were saying, kind of like another cog in the machine. Yeah. Gives them another bit of a weapon. A guy like Wyatt Wilkes, who's turned into a really nice player. He had some good moments on Tuesday night, too. Had a block, had a 3, had a really cool behind-the-back pass. And he's playing with a lot of confidence, and he's a guy you got to scout. And he's a guy that can come in and knock down 3 threes and a half. That's a cog in the machine. This dude is the guy where there's a minute to go in the game, and you're down by 1 or up by 1. He needs to get the ball. That's what he is. He's a guy that can win the game on the other side of the floor, too. That's just what he's become. And, Leonard was asked a lot about him on Tuesday night and on Saturday, too, because I think Kurt from the Democrat asked him, like, a lot of freshmen hit the wall right now. He seems to be coming into his own. But that also, guys kind of, he was playing 18 minutes a game, a long stretch, or 16 minutes a game. He hasn't started a game all year. They kind of brought him along slowly. And Leonard was like, well, he's kind of come at his own pace. Obviously, Leonard isn't dumb. Like, he knows that Patrick Williams is better than Raekwon Gray. He knows it. We all know it. He has eyes. He's been around this sport for 60 years. He knows what he's looking at. He just likes the thought of not putting – he didn't want to put all this added pressure on Patrick Williams to be a starter coming into a Sweet 16 team right away as a freshman. He wanted to bring him along slowly, not put a lot of pressure on him, let him watch from the bench, go in and play really hard for 4 or 5 minute bursts, and then come out. That's what he did for about the first 20 games. Then he got hurt. Well, now since he's come back, especially the last week or 2 weeks, he's become, he's maybe their best player. And there's a couple to choose from. He's taken another step. And you see, okay, this is why the NBA guys keep showing up. This move right here is pull up. The way he's starting to be more aggressive on offense and more assertive. He attacks the rim on every rebound, and it's just a crazy jumping jack. He just does crazy things at the rim. So, no, he's not a guy that's just another added cog or another weapon as part of the 18 strong. No, he's one of the 2 or 3 best, most impactful players on the team, even though he doesn't start, much like Cabin-Gully last year. It'll be crazy if Florida State goes 2 years in a row having a guy picked in the first round that never started a game at the school. But it might happen. It probably will happen the way this is going. But he is a guy, and I don't like to project. It's all about matchups. We get it. We don't even know who they're going to play in the first round. But he's a guy that cannot carry a team to a Final Four. I would never put that pressure on anyone. But he's a guy that can be a huge part of a Final Four team. Because he's not, you don't match up with him. There's just maybe there are 4 forwards in the country that have his athleticism and his ability at the rim. There just aren't many of them. So yeah, man, it's a nice weapon to have at least for the next 5 or 6 weeks.
Good segue there,
and good
Corey.
kid too, by the way. I meant to say though, a really good kid. We didn't talk to him.
Yeah.
That's another thing. We didn't talk to him for like the first 20 games. Well, now he's been so good, he comes and speaks with us after every game, and really, really down-to-earth, nice kids, or seems like it anyway.
Yeah.
Intelligent, articulate. His mom runs a floral shop up in Charlotte, and he used to deliver flowers for her after school. Just a different kid, but a really good kid.
As you mentioned, it's all about matchups in the tournament. Right now, ESPN's Joe Lunardi has Florida State as a 2 seed playing in Tampa on opening weekend. They would play Winthrop. They would get the winner of Houston and Purdue. Meanwhile, CBS has Florida State 2 seed as well, playing Colgate, also in Tampa. Gonzaga, they would be in the West bracket, according to both ESPN and CBS. And the CBS side of things, if they were to win against Colgate, they would get the winner of Southern Cal and Rhode Island. So your own Stephanie would have a little bit of rooting interest in that game.
That's right. Stephanie, my girlfriend, went to school with undergrad at Rhode Island. Went to school with Lamar Odom.
Yeah.
For the 1 year Lamar Odom was there. I think they were chemistry lab partners together.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. I don't know that Lamar ever went to a class at Rhode Island. I think they helicoptered in for games. Literally, he was the number 1 player. Think about this, folks, if you're listening to this. The year is 1998 or 99 maybe. Lamar Odom is legitimately the number 1 prospect in the country. In the entire country, he's the number 1 player in the country. And he signs with Rhode Island. He's not from Rhode Island. He goes and plays 1 year with Jim Herrick, who, if you know anything about his history, 1 year at Rhode Island. So anyway, I don't know how much class Lamar was going to at Rhode Island, but yeah, she went to school with him. I don't know. So they're going to send him out west again if they were to get to the Sweet 16.
That's
so it'd be 3 years ago, 3 years in a row in LA.
Yeah.
Like it's Gonzaga.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Of course. Why not? Hey, why switch it up? Hey, in the Super Regionals, have Florida State and Florida play each other, too.
A cool little sidebar thing from this whole run that Florida State's been on. I can't even keep up with what they've done at home now. Are they like 66-3 now, or I don't even know. I think they're now 62-3. Okay. I think that was 62-3 in their last 65. I know that was their 21st straight home win, which is ACC, the longest streak in the ACC. Yeah.
But yeah, I believe that makes it now. It is hard to keep up. I believe that makes it 62-3 now.
Yeah. The cool little thing here is that it's, we joke about how the Tucker Center is really not like a house of horrors. There's, the fans do a great job of getting up and making noise when they have to, but I don't know if they're on the level of the Dean Dome or, whatever, Fog Allen Arena, Allen Fieldhouse, but it's become like a it's become like a truth elixir, like a truth tube for the coaches, the opposing coaches. We've had Mike Bray lose his mind, Roy Williams lose his mind a little bit, loses his temper kind of flare, and then Jeff Capel. And it's been remarkable. It's like you go at me covering the games. I go there to watch Florida State play, and then I'm like, I can't wait to hear the visiting coach kind of unleash all. And a lot of it too is because of how good Florida State is. Like, it's frustrating playing this team that's so deep and athletic and long and et cetera, that these coaches are just like, damn, enough already. But that's also compounded by the fact that their teams are struggling. But I find it quite entertaining.
Yeah, the Capel thing kind of came. He was all right there until the very end with one of the Pitt writers. And Pitt had two guys. I think they had two writers and a photographer from their local media covering the game, which was crazy. You just don't see that. If it's not Louisville or Duke or North Carolina, you just don't see that ever. But the guy asked them, because Capel said something about they come at you in waves.
Right.
And he goes, right now you don't really – the reporter asked, you don't really come at them in waves. You don't really have the depth to come at them in waves. Is that, I don't know, is that an issue? How do you combat that? I don't remember exactly how he phrased it, but it irked Capel. And Capel went on to say, hey, man, I inherited a dumpster fire. I took over a dumpster fire. I've only been here a little over a year, and I took over a dumpster fire. And that's like a direct quote. He definitely used the words dumpster and fire.
Maybe because of the start we got off to, people thought this is going to happen, quick. It's not quick. There was a dumpster fire that I took over. And so if we can keep the core together, along with some of the guys we have, then we'll get quality depth. But we do not have it right now. There's nothing we can do about that right now. You guys follow us. You should know that. You should know that. That shouldn't be something you ask. There's nothing we can do about that. This is who we are. We can't make a trade. We can't do that. And so this is who we are. Understand that. Don't get ahead of yourself with this stuff.
Look, if a media member asks a dumb question, I'll be the first to say, man, that was a dumb question.
Yeah.
I don't just to blindly defend the media members. I just think he asked it awkwardly. I think he was trying to get him to talk about Florida State's depth, but instead kind of implied Pitt didn't have any, and why do you not have any? And so he started talking about the dumpster fire and this and that. And so he also could have said, hey, man, I did beat him this year. In fact, Capel was 2-0 against Leonard.
Yeah.
Before, as the Pitt head coach, he lost to him as the Duke head coach when Krzyzewski was out for some reason a few years ago. But yeah, man, that was exciting there right at the end. We've gotten a few really good moments in that press room.
Yeah. Also exciting over on the opposite side of campus, Howser Stadium, Florida State now 3-game win streak. Watch out, break them up.
I wanted to ask you real quick. What do you think of the atmosphere, the environment, and that media workroom after the game when people are trying to write stories?
Little loud, little too rambunctious.
You think so, right? Yeah.
I don't know, why is there 27 different still photographers shooting Florida State Pitt basketball? I've never understood that.
And the better question is, why are they just yapping at each other? Why they see other people writing? Why they have to have conversations with each other for 35, 40 minutes after the game? But hey, I'm not going to use this platform to complain. They're young; they'll learn.
Millennials.
I did yell at Ira as loud as I could,
yeah.
Just to kind of fit right in to that my story was ready for him to edit. So that was interesting. Anyway, go on to baseball.
Yeah, on the baseball, I was at Howser, first game of Mike Martin Jr.'s era. I was able to watch. They took down USF 7-3. They fell into an early hole. I think they were down 3-0. I think they scored 7 consecutive runs.
Yeah, 7 unanswered.
Yeah, there we go. I said it properly. You're welcome, Corey. Learning, taking notes. Matthew Nelson uncorked a 3-run home run to break the tie game, and Florida State, again, wins 7-3. I'm not going to talk too much about the team and all this kind of stuff because it's so early. But I did find it interesting because in that at-bat with Nelson, he was hit by a pitch. I didn't think he was hit by the pitch, but everybody said he was hit by the pitch. And the ump told him that he couldn't take first base because apparently he leaned into it, so he wasn't given first base. And he was pretty salty about it. He took his elbow pad off because he thought he was going to get first base, flipped his bat away, and he had to walk out the batter's box. And he was, took his helmet off for a second and was he was like talking to himself, or he was talking to the dugout, and he looked he's pissed off. Like he was like, I got screwed on this. And then, I don't know, 2 or 3 pitches later, he took him over the wall for a 3-run home run to put the team up 6-3. And then later on, the final run was scored on a bases-loaded walk, and he took his elbow pad off and his bat, and he thought he got ball 4 on a pitch that was called a strike. And again, like he looked kind of like visibly frustrated and agitated over it. But he kind of held his composure and his poise, and he ended up walking, and then that scored another run. So Florida State wins the game 7-3. And I asked, Meat about that after the game, and he's mentioned those were 2 things that he told the team about after the game about they need to be mentally tough and they need to be able to flush things and move forward and still play pretty well. And they were able to do that. And I know, again, it's February. Not a lot of this is going to translate if they're in Omaha. Maybe it will. But I just think that was one of the things that he kind of has been talking about in his whole thing about the psychology and the approach. And, he mentioned that it was a game that things didn't go their way early on. They were able to fight and battle back and beat a team in-state, midweek game. So he was really pleased with that. And, it's one of the things that you can't take a lot away from a game in February, but to see a guy that's supposed to probably be one of your leaders kind of show this mental toughness and the stick-to-itiveness that your manager wants, head coach wants, is an encouraging thing. And then the only other thing that stood out to me was the flashing lights, the flickering lights, the strobe lights when they hit a home run. Mm-hmm. I don't think a lot of people were a fan of it when I tweeted it. I thought it was pretty cool. The players liked it. Chase Haney, I think, said after the game he doesn't know how much it cost, but it was worth every penny. So if the kids like it, then gosh darn it, Corey, I'm for it.
Yeah, it's just so alarming when you see it the first time. So on Friday night, none of us knew it was coming.
Yeah.
And then they didn't hit a home run. They hit like one ball at the infield, but they scored on a bunt. Matt Nelson actually doing it all, man. He has a bunt, a sac bunt, or a suicide bunt in one game, and then a 3-run bomb in another. But he bunts in Tyler Martin, and as soon as Tyler Martin scores, the lights go out. And everybody's like, what in the world? And then it starts doing that weird flashy thing. And then we're like, oh, and then Steven, the SID, is like, oh, yeah, that's the celebration now. He thought that it was only supposed to be for home runs.
Yeah.
But apparently they did it just for any run in that game. Maybe the first run of the season they wanted to do it.
Yeah.
But it was so startling. It looks like the lights go out and are flickering back on. Then it kind of looks like there's a spaceship hovering overhead about to beam up the second baseman. And then the lights come back on. Yeah. But meanwhile, like in the first game, the game on Friday night, it was their only run. But Matt Nelson lays down the bunt. He scores. It's a great hit. It's a hit. Nobody calls time. And then the lights go out. So my man's thinking he could have been at second or third base. The pitcher's worried that he's being beamed up. He has no idea what's going on. By the time he looks up, Matt Nelson's on third. Like I feel like that's a way to make Howser more of a home field advantage.
Yeah, okay.
For Florida State, it is startling. Didn't you say? And I'd heard it already, but didn't you say they're supposed to be adding like garnet lights to it too?
Yeah, I think it's gonna like flicker garnet, maybe garnet and gold and stuff. So that'd be pretty cool.
I mean, I don't know necessarily that it's going to draw any more fans into the game.
Right.
But I don't even know if that's what it's for. It's just supposed to celebrate Florida State home runs, which is cool. This is going to sound ageist, and I don't mean it to. It's not. You've been to baseball games. The crowd tilts a little over, and I'm getting there, by the way. I'm well on my way to being considered elderly. And, if you're not expecting that, in another 10 years, 6 years, if you're not expecting that, it could be startling on the old ticker now. They don't play music with it though, do they?
No, stop it. No, they don't play music.
No, I'm saying if they played music, if they did like the Close Encounters music, like the do 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 do, like doing that stuff, I think you got something. I really do. Either way, it's not going away, apparently. But you can't do it during afternoon games, which is a bit of a bummer.
Yeah. I got a hot take, but I'll save it when it comes to baseball. Let's move on to some football stuff that happened. I'm not going to relitigate, hash up anything that you guys touched upon or anything that's too far gone into the past. There was 2 things I want to talk about. Yeah, here's the thing. I guess we'll start with the more recent one. And it's not really even football-centric, but the ACC came out on Tuesday and announced that they're in favor of a one-time transfer rule for student athletes regardless of sport? Because I guess apparently like
Right.
you could transfer without penalty in several other sports. It's just like basketball and football like have the restriction for whatever reason.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah,
right?
I think there were a couple other odd ones
Right.
that didn't fit. But yeah, I feel like baseball's always had it. In tennis and golf and things like those were always kind of restriction free. I guess the thinking, I don't know if the thinking was that, how much money are you really spending recruiting a golfer as opposed to a football player? I don't know, or time, or what those golf coaches are getting paid compared to a football coach, and the money that the university is investing. I've never quite understood why some sports had free reign to transfer and others didn't. But now apparently they all will.
Well, somebody was saying that this is it's a good thing. Obviously, I think most everybody can say this is a positive development. It's a good thing for the student athletes, and it's probably not that detrimental to the sport or the competitive spirit of anything. But somebody was talking about, I saw on the message boards, and I shouldn't mention everybody's opinion on the show. But something about, the transfer portal. Think of all the guys that are getting kind of left behind that, want to get out. I mean, there's guys, I don't know, has Amira Sewell and, Nasir Upshur and Alex Marshall, have those guys surface on the other side of the portal? But I mean, if you want to transfer, I don't know how that fixes sort of that problem of the portal. I guess, if you do transfer, then you obviously have a destination, but I would still think the portal is still going to be a part of the process. No, you're going to have to put yourself out there, and then when they want you to, and when they have interest in you, then yeah, you can go ahead and sign with that program or transfer to that program. But I still think it's going to be one of those things where, this doesn't eliminate the portal. I don't see it that way. Do you? Am I reading it wrong?
No, why would it eliminate the portal?
I don't know. Well, I think just, or at least that problem. Like if you're, if you're the backup, you're the third string tight end at Purdue, and you're like, man, this sucks. I want to get out of here. I want to try something else. You're going to have to still put your name in the portal. Like this doesn't get, or I shouldn't say Purdue because they're not in the ACC. If you're the third string tight end in NC State and you want to get out of there, at the end of the day, if you're good enough to get a landing spot, you're good enough to get a landing spot. I hate the thought of these kids putting their name in the portal, getting out of class, and then not landing anywhere. Like again, I do wonder what Amira Sewell and Nasir Upshur and what these guys are doing. But I don't know how this would be I don't know how that would, cure or prevent kids from getting lost in the shuffle.
Yeah, I just think that's kind of always going to happen. And I know, I get it, man. And these kids, as long as coaches are allowed to leave without penalty, then it's always been patently absurd that the players couldn't leave without penalty. So my feeling is penalize the coaches. Let them have to sit out a year. I just think there's going to be some unintended consequences from this. I'm sure in 2 or 3 years the NCAA will have to get back together, the decision makers, and figure out, okay, this problem has emerged, and we're going to have to figure out a way to fix it. And I think the biggest problem that all these coaches are going to have, and not that anybody should feel sorry for these coaches, they leave every half a second to go somewhere else. Tim Brewster's he's at Florida.
What?
That dude bounces around. Yeah, he's at Florida now. He's out there tweeting about Florida. Tweeted about Florida State. Tweeted about A&M. Tweeted about Jalen Ramsey while he was at A&M. Then tweeted about Mac Brown and the Revolution Chapel Hill. Now he's down in Gainesville. That's just the job. That's what these guys do. So if they're allowed to do it, then yes, players should be allowed to do it. But do you have to re-recruit the kids every year?
Yeah.
Is that what you're going to have to do? Are you going to have to acquiesce to these kids? Are they going to say, I guess my point is, did they get leverage to the point where they're, okay, if you don't play me, I'm going to Miami and you're going to have to play against me. It's like, man, just wait your turn, Justin Fields. Just wait your turn, man. I promise he's going to leave and you could be here for 2 years and win 2 national championships. No, play me now or I'm leaving. And those are going to be conversations that happen. And it's not going to be, if there's no penalty in the sense that the kid's going to be like, well, I'm not as good as this kid, so instead of trying to beat him out on my own or work harder, and I'm not an old dude. I know how that sounds. I am an old dude, but I know how that sounds. I'm not a guy from the 50s. It's better in my day, and I used to walk uphill both ways and all that stuff. These kids aren't tough anymore. It's just that I don't know necessarily what coaches can do. If a kid is going to flat out say, if you don't play me, I'm going to transfer to your rival, and there's no then you're going to. The point is, you're going to have to re-recruit these kids every year. But again, at the same time, because I'll talk out of both sides of my mouth, as I always do, Tim Brewster's in Florida now. I think he might have still recruited some kids to Florida State that are on the current team, and now he's at Florida. So it's not like I really feel bad for the coaches. It's just, you're going to have it. It's going to open up some problems that we don't really see right away. And frankly, why just a one-time transfer rule? Why can't you do it? Why can't it be unlimited? Like, if you're going to do it, do it. Like, if a kid transfers from Florida State to Cincinnati, and then the coach at Cincinnati, he's not having a good time, and he wants to transfer again, you're not going to let him? Now he has to sit out a year? Well, where's the fairness in that? So, you're all about this. You're all about the student athlete and making their lives better for them and giving them opportunities, but only once, only to a certain extent, only to a certain degree. So it just feels like either you can transfer at will, or you can't. So that to me is a little odd. But yeah, just I don't know, man. Part of me is like, when I was a kid, I know it's just different. When I was a kid growing up, a kid would commit to Florida State, and you're like, man, I can't wait to see him as Peter Tom Willis. I can't wait to see him as the redshirt junior quarterback, or in his case, senior quarterback. He would have transferred. He would have been throwing passes for Florida against Florida State in '88 or '89, maybe, if that was an option. But again, that's good. It's good for those kids, and it's all about It is much better for student athletes. They don't get just locked behind third string and then go have to sit out a year, and the coach is going to penalize them for wanting to go further their career. Fine, get it. I got it. It's fine. It just it does make me wonder what these conversations with coaches and players are going to be like to keep them happy. And is half the team, like, what percentage of 80 scholarship players do you think will now contemplate transferring?
Oh gosh,
50%, 60%. Whether it's playing time, whether it's the coach makes me run too many stadium steps, whether it's losing, and I want to go play for a winner. Again, it's all their right. Any college student can go transfer to any college they want to. Now, I would say the difference between like a chemistry major transferring from Florida State to Florida or vice versa, there wasn't a lot of money and time spent in getting them to Florida State and Florida. There wasn't any booster money spent on getting them to Florida State and Florida. There wasn't scholarships to that extent. But still, that's the world we're in now. I like it. 80% of me likes it. I do wonder how it's going to impact the game when it really comes into fruition. Just like I wonder about the likeness and being able to make money on your name. I wonder about that too.
Also,
what about you? What do you think?
I'm fine with it. I mean, it's different.
Do you worry though? Do you worry that, like, and not that Florida State has any quarterbacks right now necessarily on the roster that you'd worry about, but any of these players, like, do you worry that I heard rumors back when Dalvin was a freshman and wasn't playing until Carlos got hurt and then Pender got hurt, that he wanted to go. Well, maybe he'd have gone. He was a kid that was committed to 3 different schools. So maybe after not playing in the first month, he's like, you know what, I'm bouncing. And not only am I bouncing, I'm transferring to Florida. Like, that kind of would have sucked. Yeah. But, more power to him. It's his life. But, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, power to the players or whatever, right? You can't – if you say anything to the contrary, you're part of the power structure.
Well, again, though, I think and I don't necessarily buy all that, but I do think the best argument for it is coaches just have complete immunity to do whatever they want.
Yeah.
There are no punishments at all when they go from school to school to school. They will recruit a kid, bring him to campus, and then leave 9 days later for another job. I think there are a couple guys on Florida State staff that did that. Yeah, current staff. And I'm not saying they're bad guys. That's just the job. Yeah. So if you're allowed to do it and you get paid $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 a year, well, the kid that gets paid next to nothing, essentially, darn sure should be able to do it too. If he gets to better his life and his opportunity, if you're allowed to do it, you don't get to hold them hostage. I get all that. It's just, again, there will be some unintended consequences, and it's going to make, I think, for kind of a Wild West in tampering when it comes to, not even tampering, I don't even think you call it that. When Florida State, say they play, who do they play? West Virginia this year. Yeah. And there's a great left tackle. Then, can't our friends at Zaxby's say, hey, man, you transfer to Florida State, and you can be on Wake Up Warchant every day with Corey and Aslan. And we'll pay you $200 a show.
Okay.
Is that where we're going to be in a couple of years?
Let's do it. I'm all for that.
That sounded like a complaint. I'm all for it. I'm all for it, especially if it's a left tackle or just a tackle in general.
There we go.
If Florida State can start bringing in big bad linemen, they'll be eating all the Zach sauce they can get.
By the way, according to the Murfreesboro Daily News, Amira Sewell actually signed with Middle Tennessee State earlier this month.
There you go.
So
Blue Raider.
Yeah.
Amir.
He has landed on his feet, so good for him. All right, last thing I wanted to ask you about, Corey, and then we'll be back tomorrow with the full Renegade Express. Post your questions, folks. I don't know if baseball, it happens in baseball more than other sports, but the whole dynamic about you go from players coach to like old school coach, and it's like no matter what happens, like if you're a writer for the media, if you go from the jerk to the nice guy, you just talk about how the jerk weared everybody down and the nice guy's a breath of fresh air, and this will probably revitalize the team and they'll do well. And if it's the other way around where it was this nice guy and he's being replaced by a jerk, it's that, man, it was too loose. It wasn't disciplined enough. This tough jerk guy is here to like put everything on the straight and narrow for this team and this franchise, and they're going to be better off. And I feel like for such a long time in the media, when these neutral site games were being, booked for college football, it was, well, listen, these neutral site games are really good because they bring a lot of money in. It's a very, it's a one-off, and you get $5 million, and it's like, man, it's a big win-win. And then now, when Florida State made the Georgia matchup and then they went ahead and made the Alabama matchup, it's like, here we go. This is what it's all about. It's returning to the essence of college football, home and homes. Play your big games out of conference in your own home stadium. Help your local economy. Help, your fans out. This is the way to do it. And then this was, it was rumored for so long, the LSU Florida State thing, and then it kind of went away after the Georgia and Alabama games got announced. But, when I was away, the LSU Florida State thing got finalized where Florida State, it's going to be not a home and home. It's two neutral site games. One will be in New Orleans. One will be in Orlando. And I was like, freaking heck yeah. Like, I was stoked for that because I want to go to New Orleans. Give me an excuse. I can go to New Orleans, get comped for like 2 days of meals in New Orleans and watch Florida State play, LSU. Sign me up. I don't want to go to Baton Rouge. But apparently, like most things when it comes to Florida State sports, apparently I'm in the minority on this one, Corey. People aren't too excited about this, and I don't get it. Don't get it.
I don't think you're in the minority on the first half of it. I think I don't know why any Florida State fans wouldn't want to go to New Orleans as opposed to Baton Rouge. I think it's the back half, having a potential LSU Florida State game. You haven't had a lot of great home games in recent years. Now you got some coming, but they're not here yet.
Right.
And instead of playing in Doak, they're going to be playing in
Camping World Stadium.
Orlando.
Yeah,
not the best part of Orlando. It's just not a great stadium. It's not what, season ticket holders would want. There's a lot that goes into it though. Number one, $10 million, you're getting $5 million per game. You also get 30,000 tickets to the Superdome. So it's not like you're going to be there. I mean, if you sell out your allotment, which Florida State fans, why wouldn't you be there?
Yeah.
It's been 20 years essentially since they've been in the Sugar Bowl after they felt like they went 6 times in 8 years. And then I was like, man, I don't even want to go back there anymore. Now, like I'm starving to go back. Yeah. I was really upset in 2014 when we had to go to California again. You're getting $10.2 million, so you're paying some bills. I don't think whatever you would have made in season ticket sales for that LSU season would reach that. Now there's a give and take. Like trust me, we've heard from plenty of boosters and season ticket holders that feel like they're not their needs their needs and wants aren't being addressed. Because, hey man, I want to go watch Florida State play LSU in Doak. You want me to give you money for season tickets every year. You want me to upgrade every year. You want me to get Champions Club tickets and upgrade and all this. But then instead of getting LSU in Doak, I get Sanford in Doak, or I get Troy in Doak. I wasn't even supposed to get Boise in Doak last year. An act of God had to bring a Boise game to Tallahassee. Meanwhile, we're going out there. So you got to remember it from the context of a fan base that just this past year had a game, a home and home, where one of their games was in another city. Boise's not playing in Walla Walla. I know that's in Washington, but it's all up north in the Northwest, folks. It's not the same state, but you understand.
Coeur d'Alene.
So I understand that to an extent. But I kind of was on that side of like, yeah, man, screw. How do you do this again? You've had this fan base has gone to Orlando for Ole Miss. It's gone to Texas for Oklahoma State. It's gone to Atlanta for Alabama. It's going to Atlanta again for West Virginia. And now you're sending to New Orleans and Orlando. Meanwhile, Doak, it's just steady NC State and Boston College in Louisville. Yeah. And so I got that to an extent, but when you hear $10.2 million for this series, man, that's hard to turn down. And New Orleans is awesome. Mm-hmm. So I'm all for it. I thought it was going to be they would get the money for the Citrus Bowl game, LSU would get the money for the New Orleans game, and it would be like almost a wash. Or you're talking about maybe a $1 or $2 million difference in revenue. Well, no, now you're talking about $5 or $6 million. And there is a reality to this thing, man. You were paying a head coach a lot of money not to coach here. Mm-hmm. There's bills that have to be paid. There's a spaceship light show at baseball games. You have to foot the bill for that, man. Somebody's got to pay for that. So yeah, overall I think it's cool. And also, excuse me, they do have the Georgia and Alabama games coming.
Yeah.
So they have heard you. Like they are concentrating more on home and home. I think this was, as you talked about, it's been rumored for a long time. I think this has been up for a couple of years already. And look, LSU wasn't going to do it. LSU wasn't going to play in Doak. They just weren't. They weren't going to play one game in New Orleans and then another game in Doak.
Yeah, they shouldn't.
It wasn't going to happen. Of course they wouldn't. And they would have done it with anyone. They would have done one game in New Orleans and then, say if they're playing Texas, they do one game against Texas in New Orleans and then one game in Dallas against Texas. Yeah. There were a lot of people they could have done that with. Florida State just made $10.2 million for a 2-game series with LSU, and then after that you got home and homes with Georgia and Alabama. Yeah. And yeah, I mean that's just I like that. I like this certainly more. To me, I like this a lot more than the one-off. Yeah, the Oklahoma State, the Ole Miss. I want that to go away, and I know Clemson and Georgia just agreed to do it. But I don't like the one-offs, man. I like that we're shifting back to the home and homes. This is a pseudo home and home. That home schedule is not going to be great. The 2020 whatever that is, 2023 season. But by then, Florida State might be a top 10 program by then. You won't really care. They'll sell a lot of tickets anyway.
I mean, I just think I get it. You're a season ticket holder, and you want the good stuff to be your home stadium. But at the end of the day, it's just like the amount of disgruntled and disappointed fans. It's like, man, them threatening to cancel their season ticket donations or booster memberships probably aren't going to equal $5 million. It's like, I mean, and we have to realize kind of the landscape that we're in here. We see the money every other month. There's an article about how much the Big Ten and the SEC network are making, and the ACC network, meanwhile, is kind of in its infancy stages here. So it's one of those things where like it's the cost of doing business. And Florida State is such a unique thing. We mentioned on the show every time we talk about attendance. Like there's no other major top 25 football program that is so far removed from the population centers of its state and its fan base. I mean, there's probably more Florida State fans in the Atlanta area than there are like in the Panhandle. That's probably an exaggeration.
I wouldn't say that.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say that, but yeah, I see what you're saying. It's not a huge metropolis, and it's not near one.
Yeah. I'm not trying to downgrade Florida State. I'm saying like Pensacola versus Atlanta. There's probably as many Florida State fans in like Atlanta than there are Pensacola. And, they're both having to make a big drive to get to Tallahassee. You put in Orlando, it's like, all right, well, then Miami, which is probably the largest amount of Florida State fans outside of Tallahassee, that puts them in the game. They can, I don't know, you're not going to make that a day trip because it's probably going to be a night game. But I don't know, I just think of like my brother and my friends in Tampa. That's so much more of an easier sort of trip for them. If you're in, Jacksonville's probably not as easy. But Orlando's becoming a big Florida State sort of a town. It used to be, I felt like it used to be like 70-30 Florida fans. I think it's more like 55-45 now in terms of it being Gators. So we're making progress there. So that's another benefit too. And I know season ticket holders, they're the ones that are, they're in town. They're going to more games than just one game per season. And you don't want to kind of reward bad behavior of being a fan that only goes to games that are close to their house when it's in town. But I don't know. Just it's another sort of benefit, I think, to this that, let's not be selfish here. I think there's a greater benefit to this in the overall thing. It's a net positive. This sort of series being scheduled. I'm excited for it. Stoked.
Yeah,
Hurricanes.
And I agree with you.
Brunch. Let's do it.
I do think it's a net positive. There is some negative, but I think the positives outweigh the negatives. But also, I haven't been one of those people that have bought season tickets for 20 years. I will say this. The one thing that it does is, it hurts local businesses when you trade LSU for Samford. An LSU Florida State game in Tallahassee with the influx of 10, 12, 14,000 LSU fans and all the Florida State fans that would be in town, it would be a circus. It would be an incredible atmosphere, and it would be great for the local businesses. But, man, I've said it on headlines. We both did. Nobody can feel sorry for hotels. When you quadruple and quintuple your daily rate and make it where it's a 2-night minimum, so a room that in July, a stay that would cost $200 now costs upwards of close to $1,000. Man, I'm sorry, nobody feels sorry for you, and that's been a big issue for games in Tallahassee, and it's getting to be a bigger issue in my opinion because the product's not as good, and it's so much easier to watch on your 80-inch TV at home. In these hotels, as far as I know, I'm probably speaking out of my behind a little bit. I haven't tried to book a room in Tallahassee in a long time, but I do remember when I did try, it was astronomical. And you still hear horror stories about how much people are paying. And as long as the hotels are going to do that, man, I don't feel sorry for them when it comes to this stuff and losing out money for an LSU fan base and Florida State fans coming to watch a game like that. But I do feel sorry for the restaurants and the bars, and they won't make as much money, the local businesses. But at the end of the day, when you look at this schedule coming up for this decade, you've got Georgia and Alabama on it. That's 4 years right there, and LSU. So 6 of the 10 years, you've got LSU, Georgia, and Alabama on your schedule. Man, you're playing the big boys. And now you could start off seasons easier than that. You don't. There are other SEC schools you could play. What about Kentucky or Vanderbilt? They're in the SEC too. You didn't have to pick the 3 best. Plus, you're playing Florida every year, so you're literally playing like the top 4 teams in the conference. But overall, I think it's a really good step for the Florida State administration after what we went through last decade, for them to start scheduling these home and homes. To have an Alabama in Doak and a Georgia in Doak, that's going to be awesome. That's never happened. LSU's played here before. They were here for Bowden's 200th win, and there was a brawl after the game. I think that was the last time they were. Yeah, it must have been the last time they were. Auburn's been here, but those 2 schools haven't been here, and that's really neat. And that was the current Florida State administration that put those together. So I know we want to complain, and a lot of people did, and I did, about the LSU being shipped off to Orlando. But Georgia and Alabama are going to be here, and we all get to go to New Orleans and have fun. And maybe we'll have a wake-up Warchant appreciation party in New Orleans that weekend.
I will put it in it's in its infancy stages right now over here at the Midtown offices. I'm planning it all out. We're going to do
Please do. Get us a bar
crawl.
We can rent out a room.
Bar crawl, not just one. We're going to go up and down the whole damn road, buddy.
I see what you're saying. There's going to be like a throng. It's going to be like a group. It's going to be like when Rocky went running through the streets of Philadelphia.
That's right.
Me and you are going to be walking from bar to bar.
That's
and
right.
It's just going to be a throng of wake-up war chanters behind us.
Yeah, can't wait.
With bees.
Cannot wait. All right, let's come back tomorrow and do another show for the people. Corey will be driven by the people. It's Renegade Express. Go over to warchant.com, post your questions on the Tribal Council, and we will reconvene. And then, as Corey said,
hold on. Hold on. Oh, what were we going to say? I'm sorry.
You were mentioning when you did the show with Ira about like, yeah, we'll try to do this like on a regular basis now, like 3 days a week, which is what we'd been doing. Like you were talking about, like it was like I went away for 1 week and it was like I was derelict of duty. Like I haven't done anything. We haven't done the show on a regular basis for like the last 3 months. Man, like since the football season. Go ahead.
I meant more like I was just apologizing for us being gone for whatever it was, 8 or 9 days. But I wasn't impugning your work or your work ethic. I know we've been doing it 2 or 3 days a week. I didn't mean to. I might have made it sound like that. I didn't mean to. But what I wanted to say was, number one, I want to go back real quick to the player transfer thing.
Oh, great.
Only because I was complaining about it, but I understand how completely fair it is. But I'm also allowed to complain just as a sports fan about how, I'm scared of change. And I wonder how it's going to work. And it's going to be a bit of a bummer sometimes when a kid I really like covering or a kid that's really good at Florida State decides he wants to go somewhere else. Just personally, selfishly, that'll be a little bit of a bummer for me. But I'll get over it, just like I did with Justin Fields transferring to Ohio State. Did he even play for them this year at Ohio State? I wasn't paying attention.
Don't remember.
Did he win the job?
I don't know. I think.
Yeah, he might have. I don't know. I didn't watch them play a lot. I assume they didn't. I don't know if they played any big games. And also, I just wanted to. The last thing I wanted to say, buddy, is I just wanted to welcome you back. We missed you. I don't know how many people told you that or would tweet you that, but I think deep down in their souls, number one, they missed the show.
Right.
But they know Ira. Ira the other day was a substitute teacher, man. That ain't the real thing. Now we got the real thing. We got the real crew back together, and we're just going to be sailing for the rest of the year.
Ira's trying to take my job. I know it. I know it. I feel it. The coronavirus has stoked fears in the global economy. I think Warchant's thinking about tightening the belt. Gene's like, we might let him go and just have you do all the video and the podcast stuff, Ira.
Yeah,
and
you came from the Far East, so we don't know what you got going on with you right now.
Yeah, that's why I'm at my house. Corey's at the east side offices. I'm under quarantine, so hopefully tomorrow we're going to be apart because Corey's going to go be a dad per usual. But we'll get back.
Then I'll be on a microphone. By the way, folks, I'll be on the expensive microphone.
Yeah.
I left that at my house in Atlanta, so that's why I'm having to do this on the phone. I apologize. It's ridiculous on my part. But tomorrow I'll be on the good stuff.
Yeah. All right, let's do it. He's Corey Mazal. Thanks for listening to Wake Up Warchant, presented by Zaxby's. It's indescribably good.
Warchant.com is the ultimate inside source for FSU football and recruiting. And now you can get in on the action for free for an entire month. Warchant.com is offering a risk-free 30-day trial subscription. Get full access to the #1 website covering the Seminoles just by entering the promo code WARCHANT30. That's WARCHANT30. Sign up and get in on the world's most active FSU message boards. Receive breaking news, stories from our award-winning staff, plus get exclusive interviews and videos. Just enter the promo code WARCHANT30. Warchant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source.